Welcome back, everybody. Onion ring residue there. Welcome back. Our guest today is a teacher, an author, and a social media star, and I'm also giving him this title in season 10, one of my all-time favorite guests. On Instagram, Matt Eicheldinger, aka Mr. Ike, shares heartfelt stories about his time in the classroom, like this one.
Hello, my name is Matt. I'm a teacher, and today I'm going to tell you the story called A Sticker Meeting. I was teaching 6th grade, and the day got a little out of control. One of my students, Tenzin, brought a booklet of 2,000 stickers, and he was handing them out to everyone who wanted one. And the thing about middle schoolers and stickers is, well, the stickers end up everywhere. I'm not sure how this next part came to be, but at one point it was decided that all the stickers should go on me. So by lunchtime, I was covered in stickers, from my shoes all the way up to my face.
Well, I'm not surprised by this at all. Mr. Ike is one of the most followed teachers on social media, period. He's also a New York Times bestselling author. His latest book right there, Matt Sprouts and the Search for the Chompy Whomper, is out, and that's the best title of any book ever. Take that, Oprah. Give it up for Mr. Ike, everybody.
Hey, man. How's it going? Good to see you as well. Hi.
Oh, hello. Welcome back.
Thank you.
I will. I'll start with a compliment. I know just in this season, I love this guy so much that we literally turned over an entire show to you. So that's how you know when we like you, when an entire hour is devoted to you. How you doing?
I'm good. I mean, I'm not on a ship filled with poop, so.
I mean, there is that. Or you're not hula hooping with your butt. I mean, there is that, Matt.
That is true. I got to tell you, my brain went to, do you remember Snakes on a Plane?
Yes!
So I heard the story, and then I heard Snakes on a Plane, and I went, oh, poop on a ship, next book.
Next book. We got it for you.
There it is.
Well, let's start with the book. Again, this title, Matt Sprouts and the Search for the Chompy Whompers.
I know.
You got to explain this, Matt. What is this one about, my friend?
Sure. So in case you don't know, the Matt Sprouts series is based on me. It's called Matt Sprouts because Matt Eicheldinger just takes way too long to say. And this story stems from all those collectibles we used to have as a kid. So like Pokemon came out when I was in middle school, same with Beanie Babies. Like I had a neighbor who collected even the McDonald's ones. You remember those?
Oh, yeah.
She had like cardboard boxes and stacks, and I thought it was so cool to be able to connect stuff like that.
Our editor, Rob King, built a second home just to keep his Beanie Babies in. Yeah.
And so the book follows Matt, and he's trying to collect these things called Chompy Whompers because he figures if he can sell them and save his neighbor's farm because it costs so much to keep a farm up. And so Chompy Whompers are just these weird-looking green stuffed animal creatures.
Let me ask you. And it's probably an easy question for you because you're an educator and you speak to kids all day. But you'll know what I'm asking. I'm not going to phrase this well.
Okay.
If I write a book, which I never will do, but if I write a book, I know how to speak adult.
Oh, sure.
Kinda. I mean, obviously, I pointed out the hot dog with Martha Stewart.
Yeah.
But what is the trick to writing a children's book? You know what I mean? How do you bring the story down to a level that you know will connect with kids?
That's a great question. I don't think I've ever been asked that, so props to you.
Oh, okay.
I think one of the easiest ways for me, at least, is that I have what I call a flexibility of maturity. So if you need me to be 5, I can be 5, or if I need to be a 13-year-old, that's easy for me. But really, what it comes down to is putting yourself into the mind of a kid and thinking about what would I want to do. And I think what's coming back, with all the rise of technology and stuff, I think this pendulum is coming back to a time where like real, tangible things are more important to kids. And so when I think when they see something that's just probable enough that could happen to them, they get excited, and it has nothing to do with technology or anything that's in their face shining all day. It's like, oh, I can go have an adventure, and I think that's coming back.
You see that?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Because I was going to ask you in the next segment, but I'll just ask you now. We hear, I don't want to say bad news, but we hear news about, the generations coming up, and they're obviously threats with AI, and for educators, and how do you teach kids? And kids are, they're not paying attention to each other. They're only on their phones. I was going to ask you, to give us some good news. You're there. You're on the front lines. You see these kids growing up. Give me another piece. Give us another piece of good news about the kids coming up.
I'll tell you a story. How about that? So I'm teaching one day, and this kid.
Can you do it like you do on social media? Because you know I imitate you with. I go, "Hi, I'm Jason. I'm a talk show host and a gay guy." No, but Matt always starts with, "I'm Matt, an author and a teacher." So yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Hello, my name's Matt. I'm a teacher and author, and today's story we'll call a bike ride. I was teaching 6th grade, and one of my students was like, "Hey, when you were like young, before you were super old, like what did you used to do for fun?" And I was like, "Oh, I'd ride my bike all over town, just all day." And he's like, "You were allowed to do that?" And I was like, "Yeah, with like everybody did it." The next time I had him was a Monday, and I was like, "Hey, how was your weekend?" He's like, "Oh, it was so great. I got grounded though." And I was like, "Why did you get grounded?" He goes, "Well, I asked my parents if I could ride my bike all over town, and they said no, but then I went and did it anyways." And he goes, "I came back a few hours later, and they're like, 'Why did you do that?' And he said, 'Mr. Eicheldinger told me to.'" And I was like, "You said what? You said what?" And he goes, "Yeah, they were really upset. They're gonna call you." And so I waited by my classroom phone just with like cold sweats all day. And I get the phone call, and the parents are like, "Hey, you probably heard we had to ground our son, but it was because he didn't listen to us. But we got to tell you, that's the happiest we've seen our kid in a really long time. Thank you so much for telling him to do that." And I was like, "I didn't tell him to do that."
Yeah.
But at the same time, I think parents are realizing like, oh, my kid is happier when they're out and about, when they're with their friends and there's no screen time. There's just some, yeah.
Yeah. You are finding that with the parents too? Are they realizing it?
They're realizing it, but I think just like kids, parents need to be taught, right? And so I get asked often, like, how do I get my kid into reading? And I have to teach that. You can't just tell a kid to go read or go tell them to have an adventure. Sometimes you need to show them the doors of opportunity, right?
More with Matt when we come back. Mr. Ike, right after this. That's a great story. Were you scared though? You're like, oh crap. Yeah.
Let's make it
Everybody. More with Mr. Ike. Don't forget to follow him on social. We'll give you all that info at the end. Matt Sopralos of the Search for the Chompy Whoppers. Get this for your kid. What we were going to talk about in this hour was just the outlook for kids.
Yeah.
Reasons, but just to put a bow on that, a lot of reasons to be optimistic, right? What you see in your classrooms?
Yeah, I think so. I think parents are really understanding what makes. There's like temporary joy and then there's long joy. And I think parents are really starting to understand the difference between the two.
I like that.
Yeah.
What we were talking in the break, and I want to bring people in on it. I want to say congratulations. This man has 8 more books coming out. Yeah.
I know.
Can you believe it? It's a dumb question. Can you believe it?
No, and for those who don't know my backstory, like I spent 15 years trying to break into the publishing industry with a single book. And so to go from classroom teacher to pushing out this many books in such a short time frame is really bizarre to be living the dream that I thought about for so long.
What is it like for you as an educator? I mean, you watch children connect with sparks. I always tell you when I think of you, I immediately think of, and my audience knows, my third grade teacher, Mrs. Fries, who ignited the spark to do what I'm literally doing right now. You see kids get that spark sometimes. How does it feel that kids are connecting with something that you created?
There are moments that hit me, right? So like that book came out just yesterday, and so I got a message from a kid who was stayed up way too late reading the book. It was like 1 o'clock in the morning and they finished it. And it's like, those are the things that I rarely get to see. It's the same thing with teaching. Like once students leave me, I rarely get to see them again. And it's kind of the same thing with being an author. You just don't get to see that side of it.
How old are your kids?
I've got a 13 and 10-year-old.
Do they think you're cool?
No, I would say the most common thing right now is both my kids just love to roast me, like
really?
Constantly. And yeah, so.
Because, okay, let's like the 13-year-old probably has an awareness of social media. The fact that you're like, you're a social media star, does that just freak them out or they just roll their eyes?
There's some rolling of the eyes, but I'm very mindful about what I put online because my kids are going to grow up someday and this is going to outlive me. And so everything I put online, I keep my kids in mind, like what will be my my history for them that they get to see, and I wanted to leave a legacy that they're proud of. But also, like, my oldest one day recorded on my phone of her like spiking her hair and being like, "Hello, my name's I'm a da," and so like, just to poke fun at me, and I appreciate it. It keeps it grounded.
I want to, and before we go, every time Matt's here, and again, there's an old episode of our show over Christmas. We devoted the whole hour to Matt, and it was a lot of just your stories online. I wanted to bring some to television. Can you, Bjorn pulled a few that, if you can share one before we have to go. The one, pencil checkout. Do you remember that one?
Pencil checkout. Oh, the kids who saved the...
Yes.
Yeah. I don't know if I can tell it as well as I did online, but as a teacher, one of the most common problems is that kids don't bring pencils, and you're constantly just like slinging them out. It costs a lot of money. Sometimes I have to pay for it. And one time at the very end of the year, after giving all these pencils away and never really having a procedure to, incentivize kids to bring their own, these kids gifted me an entire bag of pencils that they'd been picking off the ground all year, which is pretty cool.
That's so nice.
I hope that was the story you were thinking about.
No,
Okay.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. When can we expect the 8 books? Can you say that?
I can. So the next book, it has probably a better title than that. It's called Holes in My Underwear. And my hope is that it is the next Shel Silverstein. It's illustrated poetry by me. And so I wrote poems for 15 years because I just didn't have a poetry book to teach my students with. And middle schoolers are very blunt about what they like and don't like. So my first poem, I was like, here's a poem we can use today. And they're like, who wrote that? And I was like, it wasn't me. Like, I don't know. So I've got that coming out. I have like a series for early readers, like kindergartners, coming out called Marvin Baby Blob that I illustrate. But the one I'm most excited about is a dystopian trilogy called When the Rain Came. And it follows a 17-year-old foster child who ends up living with this couple. And after a week, it starts raining all over the world. And it turns out her foster parents are preppers, people who like prepare for this sort of thing. And even though it's doom and gloom, the through story is what is family.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Well, I'll end with this. You mentioned that your videos will outlive you and you have to worry about what you put out there for your kids. Yeah. Let me just tell you, you have nothing to worry about. Your kids will be endlessly proud of you for years. You're one of my favorite people ever in the 10 years of this show.
Thank you.
Thank
that
you very
really
much.
means a lot. Thank
I
you.
mean it. Give it up, everybody, for Mr. Ike. Be sure to pick up a copy of his book and follow him on social media. We'll be right back, everybody. Back in a moment. I mean it, man. Thank you so much. Thank you.